So developing healthy relationship in my life was probably one of the hardest things for me to do because I didn't know what that looked like. Um, Having to accept like unconditional love and like learning to love myself before I could ever reciprocate it to somebody else was probably the most difficult part. And honesty. I used to think that like being honest was the wrong thing to do, right? Like lies could sugarcoat it, it could make it better, it could make it easier. And that I learned after a lot of trial and error is not the case. But there's levels to it, right? So sometimes once I worked on that, there was the problem of I'm too honest. Honest to the point where I'm causing harm, honest with no good intention, honest to the point where like I'll hurt others with like my opinions and judgments. So I think when it came to formulating healthy relationships, the most difficult part for me was learning how to navigate through honesty and love. Because I had never been loved properly, so I didn't know how to love properly. And I didn't really care about myself, so it was really hard to imagine and trust that people had my best interest. And I think that this was achieved with like healthy communication, right? Being honest and raw about my feelings, letting people know where I was at, talking about the things that was going on in my head, and accepting that people weren't judging me. Other people had been there too, and that it didn't define me and it didn't change the way that they thought about me. Even if it gets real chaotic up here sometimes, that didn't matter. And I think that that was probably like the ground rules of like how I was able to like maintain healthy relationships in my life. But the biggest like core value in it all was honesty. It's something that I struggled with heavily, and I used to lie a lot. And I used to allow myself to be lied to a lot. I didn't know boundaries from Adam and Eve, and it got difficult, but with boundaries and all of that tied into a pretty little bow, maintaining healthy relationships isn't hard for me today. And I can maintain them without having to be codependent, having to be around them every second, right? I can see them and check in with them and tell them the bits and pieces of my life that is necessary, and spill my guts if I have to. And I think that to me, that's as healthy as a relationship can ever get.